Let's see how this goes. Is the mic on? Okay, hi. I got these Drohapa glasses. My disguise so people can't tell the difference between Edgar, Drohapa, Superman, Clark Kent thing. And finally, today we're gonna be looking at part 2 of the tiniest YouTube. I gotta remember this title. Smallest YouTube collab, part 2. I'm really excited about this one. And as you remember from the previous one, we had Sketcher on us next. And I'm just gonna jump right into it. So, a catch up of what happened last time. I drew a drawing. No, actually, Adelina drew a drawing. That's her Instagram. And then she sent it to me and I colored it in. And then I did another character. That's my Instagram. And then I sent it over to Sketch as the third person on this smallest YouTube collab. That's his Instagram. And now we're gonna have a look at what he's been doing. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, I'm gonna be looking over here so that I can see the screen. And I think he's using Krita. If I put the wrong program, it's gonna come up in the notes somewhere. First off, I'm loving the way he's coloring in my character. This wasn't the colors that I was gonna think he was gonna use. I was going more for like the Bruce Lee yellow and black, but I didn't want to hint at that because, you know, then you'll be influencing the colorist. But I also like the options that he goes with, like the blue hair here, and then he goes back to the brown hair. I really love the way that his process works. I think he also does a similar thing to what I did, I'm not so sure, but he does like flat colors first, so he's putting in all the flat colors, the blues, the reds, colors that are gonna be like they're the dominant colors or whatever it is that he's gonna paint over. And of course, all this is like time-lapsed and fast, you know, it's sped up a couple of times, but it does take a long time. But you can also see the amount of decisions that you go into when you're painting. When you see a drawing, usually when it's done, you feel like, oh, maybe the artist had the entire idea in their head when they were going into it, but from this you can see that there is a lot of decisions that are made, things that are redone, erased. I don't think he followed the no zooming in rule, but it doesn't matter. I mean, as long this is the way that he does his work, so it's, you know, he's expressing himself. But yeah, I just like the process that he goes through. Like he does the flats and now he's putting in the shadows, or he's put in the shadows or the dark bits in 2 levels. Like there's the darks and the middle darks. I like what he's doing right now with the little with the drawings on the face and the patterns because of how this turns out in it. But I like how you see that was an idea that he had or something that he was looking into getting into. Oh, here he goes with the highlights. This is very interesting as well. I just like how he does his lighting. Usually when I see his work, you know, you can only assume what he does to get to where he is. And I think this is, I don't know if you guys can relate, but usually when you like see an artist's work, you usually want to like, when you want to imitate them, you go like try to redraw what they did. You don't really see their process. Oh, he's going into now his own character. And this is a character I think based from a game. When it's done, you guys will, well, some of you will definitely be able to tell which game it's from. But again, I like his anatomy. I like how he does the anatomy first. I don't think I do that. Maybe I should get into it. But I like how he's really good with the anatomy. I don't know if he was using references, which is also always a good thing to use, but yeah, probably not, but I'm not sure. I also like how he's getting the sense of scale and how he's positioning the character with the other character so that his idea or the skill that he has in mind can work. Again, I'm loving the anatomy, the muscles, like you can see how he's able to define and separate the muscles, and you know, I don't know what they're called, so I'm just doing this right now, but yeah, people who do know will be like, oh, that's the deltoids, or that's the pecs or whatever. But yeah, I like how he's doing all that and how he draws his what do they call this? I forget what it's called. It's like an underground. It's not an underground, like it's the basic line drawing before you go in and put all your final work. It's like an underpainting when you're doing like analog painting, as I call it. Yeah, but again, I like the choices. You see the variety in the choices that he goes through, the things that he decides to do, the things that he decides to leave out. It's very interesting. And then he goes ahead and draws the armor. By the way, I got a comment from one of you guys that said that most of these, that they've been following the 1000 version of this, and well, this is my version of 1000s, so I shouldn't say the 1000 version of this. It's actually the original version, which is 1000 version. And he did say how a lot of the people are drawing characters and not a lot of them are doing backgrounds. So for the next one, or I'm gonna have to do like an in-between video where I'm going to start to do the backgrounds from scratch, and then again passed on the drawing so people can add onto the background. And thank you very much for your comment. I thought it was very, very valuable and very, very informative. I hadn't thought of it until I read your comment. Actually, that was really good. Yes, so some of you might have already recognized who the character is or where the character is from, but I like the twist. I like the difference that he's put in. Like, his imagination has gone a bit beyond from what I would have thought of in this case. I also like how he tried the afro and then put back the long wavy hair. That would have been an interesting character. But yeah, again, loving the anatomy, the way he does the toes and the fingers, looking really good. And then look how he goes back with like the final line work. And I don't know if he has categorized this in layers, but I like how he does the sketch and then he does the final line work just to clean everything up. Usually, or sometimes I just like work on the same sketch and just refine it or just leave it sketchy, but I like how he goes into all that work but then also refines it and makes the lines more sharp and crisp. And even as he does his line work, I like how he sort of you see as he progresses, but I like how he first does the lines and then he fills it in with whatever it is that he thinks needs to go on, and he doesn't necessarily do everything at once. Like, I'd probably be sketching and shading sort of at the same time, or thinking of my hatches as I'm doing the line work. But I like how he like separates everything and does all the little tiny details separately. Again, I don't know if he's using a reference for this, but it is pretty impressive. This is what my art wants to be when it grows up, or my art skills. Able to do all the anatomy, and then, add the, my voice went a bit funny there. Add a bit of a line drawing, whatever you call it, the sketch, and then do the final artwork, final lines, and then here are the shadows again. The lighting is pretty good, the way the lighting source has been placed and how it affects the shadows that it's adding. It's pretty interesting. Shadows and changing and making decisions. I keep repeating the phrase decision because I think this sort of shows how much work goes into creating art. Sometimes when you see a finished piece, like I've said before, you think it just was instantaneous, but actually there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of time that goes into it. And so even when it comes to, let's say, client work, this is a sort of a good idea of how much goes into the final product, and hence when it comes to pricing for work or for services, you probably can see why it is the amount that it is. It does take a lot of work. I know I'm repeating myself, but I think that's very important for clients too. Anyway, I love Jeff Lissop, the way he does his brushes. Maybe it's also the software he's using, Krita, I don't know how to say it, but probably it gives you pretty good options. Like, I'm liking the color wheel that he has going on the side, and the way you can like choose your colors as you go, and you have everything like on display. I use Photoshop, and I know that I have swatches on one side, but usually I have like open and shut them up. I don't always have them permanently open, maybe because of something I just don't know, or also because my screen isn't big enough to like have them on the sides. Yeah, but this is pretty interesting, pretty good. I did go ahead and add my line work on top because I think I sent him line work in a color that was probably not the best, so I darkened it and put it on top of it so that it could look pretty good in the end. But yeah, that was an amazing process, and I'm so glad that Sketcher took part in this. I'm trying to do so many rough hand movements because my cable's a bit wobbly. You can see by that wobbling plant that's been poking out there. But yeah, I like how you elongated the sword a bit there so you can touch the ground. And I think this is the final piece. I'm so happy that Sketcher took part in this, and I can't wait for part 3. And the next artist is gonna be, again, depending on who it is or who you've seen, this is their Instagram, go and check them out. I might have a poll in the community tab that sort of asks on which artist I should do next. I also want to include more female illustrators or digital illustrators from Tanzania. So far, we've done Adeline, and it's already me and Sketcher, that's 2 guys. So I'd really like to get more female illustrators on this, but also background artists out there, people who probably prefer backgrounds, digital backgrounds than characters. Let me know, DM me on my Instagram, and that's my Instagram, and we'll see what we can do. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, send this to all your relatives, to people you like to annoy, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye! Oh, and I hope you draw something today.